We cut through the confusion of the publishing world to make it easy for you.
Call or scan for your...
Trump calls Minnesota's bluff, the president with another PR masterstroke in a very tumultuous political climate. Speaking of climate, we, the taxpayers, are funding scaring middle schoolers about the climate. More on that. Governor Gavin Newsom has a $1 billion vanity project that got toppled in the first 24 hours. And should corporations and companies be penalized for hiring illegals? Well, the polling is out and it is decisive. All that and more coming up. My name is Jobob. Thanks so much for tuning in. The show starts right now. President Trump has called the bluff of all of the libs in Minnesota and really around the country in what, again, I believe is a master political stroke. We'll get to that right off the bat, but I got to remind you, tpt@tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, even criticisms. Go ahead and forward those over to tpt@tpusa.com. And if they are critical of the show in any way, shape, or form, we probably won't read them. We only read glowing reviews of the show on the show in the fifth segment of the show, our mailbag segment, tpt@tpusa.com. I kid, we read all kinds of emails. Also leave a comment wherever it is that you happen to be watching. And if those comments and emails are gross, disgusting, vile, bigoted, and just downright terrible in all natures, we actually might read them on the show because generally speaking, those types of emails fit in with exactly what we're trying to do here. tpt@tpusa.com is that email address. President Trump, I believe, is going to win the PR battle because that's what this has turned out to be in Minnesota with what I believe is a masterstroke. The reason I think he needed to make this move, and we'll get into specifics about it, is I think more broadly, the normies have gotten involved. If you're not familiar with the internet lingo, the normies are a bunch of the normal folks who don't pay attention to really anything going on until a big story captivates the country, which is what the libs depend on, by the way. Then those normies take to their thumbs and they type furiously on their phone the horrible things that are happening, and then they throw the phone away and don't look at it again because they're not really paying attention. I've described normies in the past as kind of like a bandwagon sports fan. Like now that the Seahawks and the Patriots are in the Super Bowl, you're going to have a bunch of Seahawks fans, a bunch of Patriots fans come out of the woodwork. Like, oh yeah, we love this team. And all of us who have been here for a while, a decades-long Seahawks fan myself, will go, yeah, nice of you to join us, but we've got a lot of catching up to do. It's like somebody watching a long TV show that has 7 seasons, and they're like a brand new fan, and they jumped in on episode 3, season 4, and have all these opinions, and you're like, yeah, okay, great, glad you're here. This is a great show. We appreciate you watching, but also you got a lot of catching up to do before you can just assert your opinions. Anyways, the normies have entered the chat, and therefore President Trump obviously has to figure out what he's going to do. And what it appears to he's doing, I think, is a master political stroke. We talked yesterday about kind of the options here, right? The options are, well, you either kind of double down on what's going on in Minnesota and you say, well, hey, if you guys weren't causing all the chaos, there would be no chaos. Obviously, Mayor Fry, Governor Tim Walz saying they're here to cause chaos. And then we all watch together as the chaos is entirely being caused by the agitators and the disruptors who are part of a paid group, but we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the segment. And they cause chaos. So obviously you can't back down to that. At the same time, the temperature is admittedly hot. Nobody can deny, and there's no use in trying to pretend like, oh, this is like not really that big of a deal. It is a big deal. President Trump recognizes it's a big deal, and it doesn't help our side to ignore the things that are big deals. The shooting over the weekend kind of reached this to a fever pitch. So those are the two options. You either double down or you back down. Neither option seems great at the moment, but President Trump himself pushed a third option, which is, let's just make some changes. I think in a lot of cases, President Trump kind of resembles like a sports team manager. Just because, things aren't necessarily going your way in the game doesn't mean you can't make adjustments. That doesn't change the objective of the team. Your goal is still to win, and ultimately, you may have to make some changes, do a little shuffling around. And that's actually not a bad thing. Ultimately, it's kind of a sign of a great leader. Just to give you a little bit of timeline here, in December, there was a big Axios piece that came out I mean, I'm sure other people reported it, where President Trump kind of joked about the fact that, sorry, I'm burying the lead here. Tom Homan yesterday got sent to Minnesota. Kristi Noem is back in D.C. Not entirely sure where she was in the whole part anyway. Both great. Both big fans. Both have really advanced the agenda of MAGA. Great people. Nobody's talking anything bad about either one of those individuals. It's really a stylistic difference that we have here. President Trump in December talked about, well, Kristi Noem and Tom Homan don't really get along that well. The president chuckled. He said, but they're doing a great job. And he's, again, stood by both of them the entire time. According to Axios, a Trump advisor at the time said this about the president. He doesn't actually mind conflict. Trump is like that. He kind of likes it when people compete against each other. He thinks it makes the product better. And like I said, the difference here between Kristi Noem, who the New York Post's words has been elbowed aside, Tom Homan now going to Minnesota to, again, deal with what is objectively a problem in Minnesota, again, primarily caused by the libs, but again, the normies are involved, and that kind of inserts like its own thing. Bottom line is the style is different, the approach is different, but the belief is not different at all. And that's very, very important. Like I said, it's kind of like a sports team. You will, if you're a baseball manager, you will be in a situation where your pitcher might be letting up more hits than you want to have happen in a game. So what do? You change the pitcher. You don't abandon the strategy to win the game. You also don't leave the pitcher in just to continue to get racked. It is you got to just make some changes. That's exactly what it appears that Trump is doing. Doesn't mean the pitcher is bad. Doesn't mean that the belief is wrong. It just means you might need to alter things a little bit. It's like the difference between like Steph Curry and LeBron. And I realize those two examples might rub some feathers the wrong way. I'm not at all endorsing Steph Curry or LeBron's politics in any way, shape, or form, but they are very, very different NBA players. LeBron is kind of like a brute force guy. He uses his size. Obviously, he has athletic skill. Steph Curry, totally different player, smaller guy, is very nimble, shoots from half court a lot of times, sometimes makes them. Very, very different players. That doesn't take away from the fact that they're both great. And that's kind of what I see in the Kristi Noem, Tom Homan, whatever. The media is trying to make this out as in like, this is like a fierce battle going on between them. That's just not really true. What I think happened was the Minnesota fraud was exposed. I think in a lot of ways, Tim Walz, the governor of the state of Minnesota, was like, holy cow, this is a massive political story that everybody's going to be paying attention to. What can we do to distract them from that? And all of a sudden you've got ICE that is now the worst people in the world. Now, for some reason, and we talked about this yesterday, it's happening in Minnesota again, and it only happens in Minnesota. Nowhere else around the country are we seeing this sort of chaos because the governor probably has something to hide, and because, there's a very convenient distraction here if we want to protect our neighbors. A lot of that then stemmed from the Somalis, which inherently was like, hey, maybe we should look and see if any of these Somalis that have stolen several billions of dollars from the American taxpayer are here legally. Insert an expanded presence of ICE, which Kristi Noem kind of by default heads up. And with her approach, she's kind of the more LeBron type, just brute force. Again, not a bad thing at all, just different style. Brute force, we're going to go at him. Unfortunately, in this particular case, that kind of plays into the radical libs' hand. We talked last week about the Rules for Radicals, Saul Alinsky's book, about what you should do in order to topple over the status quo or the regime. And part of that is to cause chaos no matter what it is that's happening. You want to insert yourself and create decision dilemmas. Therefore, that causes chaos. Therefore, you can insert the whatever it is that you want. In this case, probably some communist dictatorship, which is what the libs are apparently proponents of. So by no fault of her own, just kind of stylistically, things kind of unfolded. Obviously the Renee Good situation and incident, which again, I currently believe to be a totally justified shooting. The Alex Preddy situation, which is really kind of interesting in and of itself. Again, we talked about this yesterday. We don't need to belabor the point too much, but there's a lot that still needs to be known before we just jump to conclusions, which is what the libs so want to do. I kind of get the feeling as more information comes out, it's going to be a much more murky situation. If it is the case that it looks it is as bad as the libs are pretending that is, sure, great. We have a justice system for that purpose, but I don't think it is, and we will continue to see how that unfolds. But regardless of all of that, this has prompted the normies to come out of hiding. We discussed the normies a little bit at the beginning. Bottom line, the normies are the folks that are just going about their day-to-day life, and they're looking at baseball scores. They're looking at the Real Housewives of Orange County. That's what they take in as information. And by God, something big enough happened to where it reached their news feeds, and now they've decided to insert commentary. And like the rest of us, most of us are kind of rolling our eyes going, hey, you're welcome to take this all in, but participating at the level that you think is necessary is probably a little bit much for somebody who's got a lot of catching up to do. It's like somebody coming into Game of Thrones and watching like one episode somewhere in the middle of the series and going like, how can you support Jon Snow? Anybody who supports Jon Snow is disgusting to me. And then as a Game of Thrones fan, in case you're missing this reference, Jon Snow is one of the only admirable characters in that entire series, book or TV. And you go, well, you don't really know the context. Anyways, the normies have entered the chat. A bunch of celebs, including Natalie Portman, I think was the one that I've been seeing a ton, just saying this is absurd, this is disgraceful, this is absolutely bad. And situation is a little bit rough to deal with. Nobody's denying that. So what does President Trump do? His options are either back down or double down. He does neither. He says, we'll just change the approach. We'll pull the pitcher, put a new pitcher in, and hopefully we'll still win. The defense that we have on the floor isn't quite working out. We need more nimble guys, shifty guys. Let's put those guys in, which I think is exactly what he's doing with Tom Homan and Kristi Noem. Doesn't mean Kristi Noem's bad. Doesn't mean she's bad at her job. Doesn't mean Tom Noem is necessarily better necessarily. He's just different approach, which I think is a masterstroke by the President of the United States to not back down, just shift some players around. Do exactly what a sports team manager would do. Trump says, we will adjust. And what that adjustment has led to, interestingly enough, is a minimal amount of cooperation from none other than Governor Tim Walz, which I think is the most fascinating part about all of this. Now, Tim Walz has been very, very hesitant to provide any sort of security or help to anybody in the Trump administration. I believe Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, was in Minnesota, and Tim Walz denied any sort of security to him. I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. If it turns out to be wrong, sorry. I think the bottom line, what I'm getting here, is that Tim Walz has not at all provided any sort of help to the federal government in any way, shape, or form. But because President Trump kind of shifted some chess players around the board a little bit, he said, I'm making an effort. Got Tim Walz on the phone yesterday. Tim Walz then puts the National Guard out. And last night, interestingly enough, the Minnesota state authorities were the ones that were quelling the protests, not the federal government, not ICE, which I think is fantastic, because I want you to watch this clip, and this is again by Tim Walz's direction. This is happening, which, regardless of what you think of the guy, regardless of the politics, is a good thing. Play this cut 6.
You are now under arrest. Please sit down and wait for instruction.
So finally, the federal government and the federal agents that are on the ground there in Minnesota appear to have some amount of help from the state government, which I think is great, because what this effectively does is lets President Trump call the bluff of all of the extreme radical libs in Minnesota. What they're saying is that we don't like the tactics. We talked about this at great length yesterday. We don't like the tactics that the administration is using, and therefore we think that we're justified in doing whatever we want to whoever we want because they're simply a part of the administration. President Trump calls their bluff by saying, okay, fine, we'll change it up a little bit. Put some new people in there, take some other people out. Because that's what you said you wanted. What you said you have a problem with is not the enforcement of immigration. It's how they're doing it. Okay, we're going to change how we do it. And let's see if their attitude changes. My guess is absolutely not. And what I also think is a good thing is the fact that this effectively puts the normies in the crossfire of all of this. All of the normie people who don't pay attention really in any capacity now all of a sudden have an opinion on this are going to have to be faced with the decision of, okay, well, hold on. It's just the tactics that we're all concerned about. It's just the tactics. Okay, fine. Tactics are going to change. Let's see if that actually quells any of the dissent. My guess is probably not. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not about the tactics that the administration uses. It's not about who's in charge. It's not about what they're doing. They want to, like they've said themselves, want to abolish ICE in any capacity. We had some video of some protesters basically saying that, but you don't need to see that again and over and over and over again. But the bottom line is that ultimately, a bunch of people who weren't really paying attention started getting involved. That kind of prompted the president to say, hey, yeah, we're gonna adjust some things a little bit. And therefore, the people that weren't paying attention, who are now paying attention, are going to have to make a decision when all of this stuff unfolds. If Tom Homan goes in there, is a little bit less brash, a little bit more targeted, a little bit more precision-oriented, which is what he's proven himself to do over the last several decades. Got an award from Barack Obama for doing that, but don't need to talk about that necessarily right now. If that's the case, it will be, in my opinion, in my prediction, very evident that a bunch of the libs that were simply protesting the way that it's happening are going to be uncovered as radical extremists who are organized in signal chats and various group messages that, no, we actually just want to tear down the entire system. And then the normies will be faced with a decision on whether or not they want to take the side of sanity, who will adjust, who will be pragmatic, but also understands that there's a job that needs to get done, or the side of the radical extremists that want to topple everything over and the whole thing be damned. It's going to be really interesting to play out. I think this is President Trump in a masterful political stroke calling the bluff of all of those libs who are pretending that it's the tactics they have a problem with. I think he's saying, okay, game on. Let's see how much you back down when we adjust the things that you say need adjusting. I think it's a masterstroke by the President of the United States. I'm very excited to see what happens going forward. Also, and lastly, to wrap this up, there's clearly a PR problem. Nobody doubts that. And it doesn't help us to pretend that it's not there. The president has been called a fascist on more than a couple occasions by more than a couple people. It's hilarious then, and it is hilarious now, and probably highlighted by the fact that, yeah, fascists don't alter their decisions based on bad PR. So just do with that what you will. President Trump saying, yeah, hey, optics are not great. We all agree the optics are not great. How about this? We make a change. Yeah, Mussolini, not a person who would have done that sort of thing. Just saying, guys. All of the people that call the president a fascist, just so you know, fascists don't generally adjust things when there's bad optics. They kind of are known to crack down even harder. Just saying. But I'm curious what you think about this. TPT at TPUSA.com. Like I said, this is I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing for anybody involved. Just different tactics, different way of doing things. Kristi Noem, Tom Homan. Two great patriots that have solved a lot of problems with the immigration in the United States, the illegal immigration in the United States. Just some might be better suited in different places, and that's totally fine. By the way, too, Kristi Noem also has the job of securing the actual border. So, maybe great at one thing, maybe not great at the other thing. Not a bad thing either way, just as long as the job gets done. I said it yesterday. I don't care how it gets done, quite honestly. Which is why we're soliciting suggestions from the libs. Don't care how it gets done, just needs to get done. TPT at TPUSA.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. Also, leave a comment wherever it is that you are watching. If that comment or email is disgusting, bigoted, all downright just nasty, we'll probably read it on the show, honestly. TPT at TPUSA.com is that email. We will be right back after the break. Don't go away.
When the lights go down, the truth comes out.
This is built like a chicken McNugget, but...
This is After Hours with Alex Stein. No filter.
You're a globalist. You don't care about America.
No apologies.
You're a pro-abortion when you should have been aborted.
The undisputed king of trolling.
I was recently sexually assaulted within the metaverse.
I want to vaccinate your mom.
They tried to cancel us.
Deplatforming works.
She wants to kill babies, but she's still beautiful. Look at that booty on AOC. That's my favorite big booty Latina.
Politics, culture, hypocrisy.
They want them to have their penises cut off.
Uncensored and uncontrolled.
That's what I'm saying. They admit they want to cut people's penises off.
Late night just got dangerous. After Hours with Alex Stein. Coming soon to Real America's Voice. Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself. Scan the QR code and stand with Rav. The story isn't over, and neither is your part in it. Step in, be counted, be heard. Together, we are Rav.
We will achieve American greatness. And we are just getting started.
Hi, this is Becky from the Florida Panhandle, and I love watching Real America's Voice for the programming, the hosts, and my Rad Chat family.
Hi, I'm Bridgie, and why do I love Rob? Well, even out here in the cornfields of Iowa, I still need news I can depend on. That is Real America's Voice.
Howdy, Rav fans. It's Warbringer here. Love you all. Rav is the only place to get the truth, and this is the only way we're going to be able to restore our republic. Love you all. See you in the chat.
Well, I don't know about you, but I entirely changed my mind on that. I had, I had a thought. I voted for the guy 3 different times. I love what he's doing. Pretty much everything. Foreign policy, the economy, illegal immigration, getting people out of here, law and order. Man, I agree with all of those things, but that lady sure as heck changed my mind. I'm moved by that. By loading up a cart full of groceries at Target and then not buying them. And then encouraging people to walk out. I know there was nobody there that followed her, but I would have, had I been in that line. I probably would have gone to the self-checkout first and then completed my purchases, but then I would have walked out. I'm telling you, that lady is a mover and a shaker. And any lib who doesn't have her as the head of their PR team running for president in 28, they should find out who that lady is. She's a PR genius. TPUSA.com. For some reason, you disagree with my assessment there. So much has been said, and there probably doesn't need to be more said about what's going on in Minnesota, and kind of get back to the bigger task at hand, which is getting the federal government to do what it is that we want them to do, which in part means not funding freaking nonprofits that are getting taxpayer dollars in the millions of dollars to freaking indoctrinate our kids, which is exactly what the National Environment Education Foundation appears to be doing. NEEF, as its acronym would spell out, is a congressionally approved charter. This is from the Washington Free Beacon, by the way. Do great reporting over there. It's a national nonprofit, congressionally chartered nonprofit that receives a ton of money in annual government funding, and its board is appointed by the Environmental Protection Agency, the EPA. NEEF is tasked with, I kid you not, this is a congressionally chartered organization. They are tasked with organizing National Public Lands Day, which is proclaimed by the president each year, to which I say, how long does that take? All right, hold on. National Public Lands Day is this date. Cool. Job done. Finished. That'll be $2 million, please. Because that's the funding that the NEEF organization gets. In 2024, it was over $2 million, which, interestingly enough, represents half of the organization's total funding. So pretty much everything coming from the government. Additional federal grants from various agencies totaled $1.2 million. So again, more money coming to this organization. NEEF, the National Environmental Education Foundation, why are they bad? Well, they published, a number of things, but we're going to hit on two here that are actually fascinating. The Land Acknowledgement Program is one of them. They published a guide to indigenous land acknowledgement for National Public Lands Day events. So that's what they schedule the National Public Lands Day, and then also provide a guide as to how you can acknowledge the land that is conquered by the greatest civilization mankind has ever known. We'll actually do their entire job here in just a second, because I've actually written out my own land acknowledgement that I do think should be read at any and all events, but stay tuned for that. The Land Acknowledgement Program, the guide recommends that the host begins with a statement at every event on the National Public Lands Day, declaring the local native groups as the traditional inhabitants of the land that you're on. Because that makes a difference in total. So that's what this group does. That was co-authored by the guide itself was co-authored with the Department of Arts and Culture, a nonprofit that recently published a comic book calling President Trump a fascist and promoting the boycotting of all Elon Musk companies. So they're just nonpartisan, good old government NGOs at work here. But the problem is that's not the only thing that they do. They also create school curriculum. NEEF teaches middle school teachers how to address climate change emotions in the classroom. One of the lesson plans was spinning the climate of emotions wheel, where they draw and write out their feelings. They suggested emotions include outrage, despair, panic, and shame. Interestingly enough, according to the group's own study, they claim that climate anxiety is widespread in U.S. schools and affects schools on a daily basis. Who would have thought teaching kids to be absurdly anxious about a thing that is not nearly at the scale that they claim it is will cause anxiety about that thing? Dang, couldn't have seen that one coming. Let's actually probably a good time to play this. I want to play this cut from, I think this is a couple of years ago. I think Charlie tweeted this out at the time. This new thing called climate psychology, in which a climate psychologist, whatever the heck that is, talks about the reasons that climate anxiety is existing amongst our students. This is cut 8. This is a climate psychologist.
Leslie Davenport is a climate psychology therapist. She teaches at the California Institute of Integral Studies and is author of Emotional Resiliency in the Era of Climate Change. Leslie, when does healthy concern about the planet, about climate change, become this sort of climate anxiety?
Well, from the emerging field of climate psychology, one thing that's really important to understand is we view distress, upset, sadness, grief, anger about climate change to be a really reasonable, even healthy reaction.
Yeah, so a reasonable, healthy reaction to have anxiety over the climate, which is a crazy way to live your life. Now, here's what I think is, well, okay, so let's just, to wrap this up in a neat little bow, part of their school curriculum, students are encouraged to sign a climate pledge, committing to asking their parents to buy electric vehicles, switch to Energy Star certified appliance, and persuade their parents' employers to join Energy Star building programs. I would love, my kids aren't old enough for that to be the case, but I would love to see them come home from school to go, Daddy, we need to buy an electric car because I signed a climate pledge. No, is the answer. Next question. Now, of course, that scenario is impossible because my kids aren't going to go to government schools. But, you know, all that's to be said. If your kid go to government schools, they're being indoctrinated by a government-funded, taxpayer-funded NEEF organization, which should be defunded. All of this is to say, in order to permanently end NEEF's funding, it would actually require Congress to amend a 1990 law that established it, which it should 100% do. Now, like I said, I'm going to do the entire job of the, what does NEEF stand for again? The National Environmental Education Foundation. I will do their entire job now. One, we've already seen, I've established the National Public Lands Day by writing a date, but I also will create my own sort of guide for the land acknowledgments that should, I believe, happen at really every event that happens in this great country. And that is the entire job of NEEF, other than, well, the school curriculum stuff, I'll just cancel that. So that we're doing the entire job of the foundation that receives millions of dollars from the federal government. By this is my guide. This is how I think land acknowledgments should go. We would like to acknowledge the land we stand on today was conquered by the greatest civilization that mankind has ever known. The people who were once occupying this land could not withstand the might and superiority of the Western world. And for that, we are thankful. That is my land acknowledgement. And I encourage each and every one of you, if you're speaking at an event, to acknowledge the land that you're on as a part of the greatest nation mankind has ever known. All other prior indigenous folks, you lost. So there's that. We got a lot to get to. There is polling out, Rasmussen, definitive answers on whether or not corporations that hire illegals should be punished. Decisive, but a little bit surprising to me, honestly. And Gavin Newsom, governor of California, has a $1 billion Clean California initiative, which includes some ridiculous attempts at getting rid of graffiti. And spoiler alert, it didn't work. And it didn't work very, very fast. tpt@tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, even criticisms. And if those comments that you leave on social media and the emails that you send to tpt@tpusa.com are disgusting, vile, and bigoted, we will probably read them on the show. tpt@tpusa.com. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
Followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer, in the moments I'm afraid. There's a whisper in the wind, and a story in the sky, when I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, But you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience anytime. So just go to angel.com/Rav and join there.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because
I'm just driving through my neighborhood, looking for ICE agents, trying to do my part, trying to protect my illegal criminal fellow human beings safe from ICE, because this is ridiculous what's going on. Oh, what is this? We have an ICE agent here. Get my whistle ready. ICE! ICE! Run for your life! Run! ICE is here, everybody! ICE! I think we scared him away. We did it! My hero!
Wow, it's that is a hero if I've ever seen one. Now I'm pretty sure this is parody, but here's the problem, and I've said this so many times on this show, is I can't be sure. I am like 99.999% sure that this is not real. This is somebody making fun of the libs, but also the libs have gotten so ridiculous, so crazy, so outlandish, that I still have a 0.0001% chance of me thinking, no, this is actually one of them. This is a they, them who thinks they've done something by whistling at a car that they think might be a federal agent. There's several videos going around too that I thought were really interesting of people like following random cars because they were like, oh, this person is in a database. And they're like, what are you talking about? I live down the street. I drive an SUV. Yeah, well, you might be ICE. Let me see your papers. Man, a bunch of those libs on the street in Minnesota, those paid agitators, as we've come to find out through their group chats, they'd have made great Nazis. Honest to God, they would have been fantastic under Nazi regime, because those people are nuts. Anyways. Speaking of nuts, we apparently don't do nearly enough of this, and the American people have spoken, and they are decisive about it. A recent Rasmussen poll asking voters whether or not companies and corporations should be punished who hire illegals knowingly provided some pretty definitive proof. 55% of likely voters who say the federal government should impose strong penalties against employers that knowingly hire illegal immigrants. Why does the Newsmax article say migrants? Don't play their game. Don't use their language, Newsmax. We're big fans, but don't play into that. Illegal aliens is the term. I guess I use the term illegal immigrants. Wow, I just caught myself. Man, I am part of the problem. From henceforth, I will use the term illegal aliens, as that is what is in the law. Unbeknownst to Chris Cuomo, by the way. Maybe you get that reference, maybe you don't. 23% of likely voters disagreed with imposing strong penalties. 23% of likely voters oppose making E-Verify mandatory. So 1/5, 1 in 5 people are like, that's not a good idea. That's probably a bad idea. Everybody else is either like, oh yeah, we should 100% do this, or at the very least, at least that makes sense. 68% of voters, according to this poll, support state governments requiring all employers to use E-Verify. 41% strongly support E-Verify being mandated, and 86% of conservatives back the mandatory E-Verify program. So 90% of conservatives the overwhelming majority, 68% of voters thinking that you should have companies make sure they hire American citizens, or at least people who are in the country legally. 68% of voters approving of that. 7 in 10. You can't get 7 in 10 people to agree on a pizza topping. In other words, that is decisive, to say the least. There's quite a bit more that we can get to here, statistically speaking, but bottom line is the E-Verify program is going to be a great tool going forward. The current push, as evidenced by this Rasmussen poll, shows that like this compliance tool is now going to be, and this is in quotes here, a weapon for interior enforcement. Basically saying, hey, in order to make people compliant with this is what this is for. Now we should be able to use this, again, as evidenced by the will of the people through this poll. I guess the will of the people really would be voting. But bottom line, this just kind of reinforces the fact that this is what people voted for. You need to make sure that this is in place in order that American companies hire Americans, which I know might sound crazy to a lot of folks out there. You know who it doesn't sound crazy to is one Senator Klobuchar of Minnesota. Minnesota's been in the news lately. I don't know if you've heard about it, but Amy Klobuchar, who ran for president, by the way, too, I think last cycle. The cycle before that against Grandpa Joe, and she lost to a brain-dead houseplant. But she actually, interestingly enough, in her Senate campaign, also agreed with this. In other words, libs agreed with this. What cut are we on? I feel like this is SOT 9, if I have that accurate. Let's check.
I do believe that we need more resources at the border, and that includes a fence. What we have now, we have people waiting to come in legally. Thousands of people waiting to come in legally to this country, and we have people coming in illegally. That's not right. We need to get order at the border. But we also have to stop giving amnesty to companies that are hiring illegal immigrants.
Yeah, so that is a lib who was running for Senate at the time in Minnesota. Again, Minnesota's been in the headlines, so that's why I felt like that was appropriate for her to make the point for us. Now, it is interesting, too. We do get quite a few emails every single day when we play clips from Obama, we play clips from Hillary Clinton, play clips like this one from Senator Klobuchar saying, well, this is not actually what they believe. And I think those emails are correct. The only other layer that I'd like to add, the kind of stipulation that I'd like to throw in there, is the fact that maybe that's not what they believe. Maybe Obama is a globalist. Maybe he's 100% a globalist. Maybe he doesn't think borders should exist at all. But in order to win the election in whatever they were running for, in Obama's case, president, in Klobuchar's case, Senate of deep blue Minnesota, in order to win, they felt like they had to take those positions. So regardless of what those people think, and I tend to agree with you who email us, tpt@tpusa.com, saying Obama was lying, Hillary Clinton was lying, Klobuchar is lying about what they actually believe. I actually think I agree with you on that. The further point, though, the additional layer that I think we all should take in and see for what it is the fact that the voters are what made them say that. In other words, the American people en masse agree with a strong border, agree with kicking out all the illegals, like we talked about yesterday. Massive majorities think that we should kick out the illegals, and also using programs like E-Verify, or making sure that that the companies in the United States are hiring Americans before they hire illegals. You shouldn't be able to hire illegals knowing that they're illegals. Obviously, mistakes are going to happen. Nobody's saying that the system is going to be perfect, but en masse, more broadly, you want American companies to hire Americans according to Dems, and not necessarily the powerful Dems that made it all the way through. I think they have sinister intentions, but just mainstream normie Dems also think we need to get the illegals out of the country. And tying it back to the very beginning of what we talked about today, I don't particularly care how. They just need to get gone. And libs, we're open to suggestions. tpt@tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticism. California is going under $1 billion of renovations, beautification project from Governor Newsom, including some pretty ridiculous wastes of money, in my opinion, that got graffitied on literally 24 hours later. Also, want to get to whether or not humans trust AI. Really interesting study out of Study finds that I don't know, it's actually kind of hopeful for the Americans, for the people, the people en masse, human beings versus the artificial intelligence overlords. Good news. Possibly, maybe. That coming up after the break. Don't go away.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience anytime. So just go to angel.com/Rav and join there.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick with Real America's Voice.
This is Tim King, also known as USS Malik, and I love Real America's Voices for its like-minded programming and the chat. Love you guys.
Hi, this is Chris from Wisconsin, and I love Real America's Voice because
Black people and Native Americans, why did they put you on the pride flag? Please answer down below, for I am confused about the sexual aspect of these races.
True, I don't know. I don't know why I'm on the pride flag. I wish I weren't. I wish there was somebody that I could write a letter to be like, hey, can I not be? I don't want a stripe on your flag. I don't. I'm in the square. I'm in the triangle part that they added. I think the pride flag now encompasses pretty much everybody, because anybody who isn't like a white Anglo-Saxon Christian male, it's like everybody else is on the flag. Straight white middle-aged male Christian. Those are the only people that I think aren't included. Producer Glenn is pointing to himself right now. I wish you could see him off camera, but I don't want to be included in your flag. Good question. It really kind of blurs the lines of the sexuality of us minority folks. And I don't like it. Speaking of things I don't like, California is spending $1 billion on beautification. As a part of Gavin Newsom's beautification, Clean California initiative, Caltrans, the California, I was gonna do a Freudian slip, and now I'm thinking about it in real time, and I'm thinking that the California mob that is called Caltrans, that muscles their way into everything and redoes California, known for its terrible roads. But good news, we spend more money than anybody on our terrible and awful roads. And interestingly enough, they always support the same political party. I wonder how that happens. Anyways, the mob, Caltrans, was seen putting some anti-graffiti walls up on some of the California freeways. If you've ever driven in Los Angeles, literally every freeway is like covered in graffiti, and it's disgusting and gross and terrible. But good news, Caltrans, the mob, is installing graffiti-proof ivy along several parts of the 101 freeway. This is graphic 1. The objective here is to be able to cover all the graffiti. So they don't want to wash it off the concrete because that's too difficult. Instead, we're going to buy fake ivy and cover the graffiti. And good news, because it's not concrete afterward, it's ivy. There's no way anybody will be able to graffiti over this, because the fake plants that we bought from Home Depot is going to be the decisive, definitive, diverting technique that we will use to make sure that no freeways are ever covered in graffiti again. And while I do think it's lazy, while I do think it's cheap, at least no one will be able to graffiti over this plastic fake ivy that is going up over the freeways. Oh my gosh, graphic 2. It only took 24 hours. Dang it. It's just, Yeah, so governor's spending a ton of money on this sort of thing. Also, by the way, even if it did work, it's ugly, it's hideous. I don't know why. Why wouldn't you just plant real ivy? I know things take time, but like that's just life. Like good things take time. You're not going to fix the problem by going to Walmart and buying a bunch of like ivy. Who's the contractor that got paid to make and put that up? I know Caltrans is the mobbed up organization that put that on the wall, but who made that? I will happily make garbage, trash, fake ivy that'll get graffitied in a day for half of whatever they're charging. If only I had more time and bandwidth, I probably would dig into that. Like, how much did that actually cost the taxpayer for the 24 hours of non-graffitied bliss experienced by the 101 freeway? My guess is in the millions. Like I said, I'll do it for half. There's a video that lives rent-free in my head, and it's this Indian girl talking about corruption. She's like, my greatest fear is that the corruption in our country will end before I have the opportunity to benefit from it. I'm getting there, guys. I am getting to that point. Like, dude, I'm so close to opening up a Somali daycare. Like, I'm in California. It's probably just as easy, if not easier, to do so. I'm brown. I could put that on a thing. I can say that I identify as all of these other things. I can almost guarantee that I can get an NGO with $1 million coming in annually to babysit the kids that I already take care of. I'm this close. TBT at TPUSA.com if you're also that close. This is going to have to be very short, but I did think it was interesting. Polling has come out on humans versus humans. That was not adequately put. Humans versus AI on humans. Let me just read the statistics. 78% of consumers not allegedly, it's true, they said it in a poll, trust videos with real people more than content without visible humans, even as AI tools become more accessible. In other words, in a marketing pitch, in a format like this, great to say that 80% of people, 4 out of 5 people, think that it's better that a human is giving you this useful information. I'm not even sure that's what I'm doing. I think I'm mostly bloviating on hilarious things, hilarious aspects of actual news stories. But regardless, 4 out of 5 of you who are watching at home think that this is better than AI-generated slop, which is great. 82% of viewers, another 4 out of 5, people who say they've watched AI-generated videos actually lowers their trust in the brands that put out the AI video by as much as 36%. Human presence across all age groups, including the younger consumers who are generally much more comfortable with AI digital technology, say that, yeah, we like humans to be at the forefront of things. Ultimately, I think the bottom line here is that, at least for now, humans are into humans, which I think is a good thing, especially as a guy who's going on a live comedy tour coming up here pretty soon. So tpt@tpusa.com if you have any thoughts on that. If you'd like to participate in my NGO that will babysit the kids that I already watch, my own kids, and hopefully we can build a government for millions of dollars. You know what I need is I'm already the BIPOC. I already got the immigrant angle. What do I need? I need like a trans lesbian to co-sign with me so that we can cover all of the minority bases. So therefore we can defraud California by opening a Somali-style daycare in my home that only watches my kids and build a government $1 million a year. So if you fit that description, go ahead and email us, tpt@tpusa.com. I'd love... I'm this close to participating in the corruption. I'm mostly kidding. Our mailbag segment's coming up after the break. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with this Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Most people know the biblical story of David, the shepherd boy who fought Goliath and became king. Well, Angel Studios has created a new animated film called David that tells the story of Israel's greatest king.
There's a light I've always followed when I'm looking for the way, when I'm searching for the answer. In the moments I'm afraid, there's a whisper in the wind and a story in the sky. When I'm looking for a lantern to illuminate the night. If you want the secret of freedom and feeling alive, you gotta follow the light. Follow the light.
For those who love great animated classics like The Lion King and Prince of Egypt, David is an awe-inspiring animated musical that depicts David as a spirited boy who fought lions, giants, and even betrayal, depicting how one boy's faith could lead him to be king of Israel. David will be released in theaters just in time for Christmas on December 19th, but your family can get a head start by watching the prequel to the film, Young David, which is streaming exclusively right now on Angel. It's perfect for the entire family and has memorable music. So once you join the Angel Guild, you can start watching Young David right now and prepare the fam for the David film in theaters in December. And by joining the Guild, you'll guarantee 2 free tickets to see it. And it's a great value. Let's be honest, going to the movies isn't all that cheap. But if you're a member of the Angel Guild, not only do you get those 2 free tickets to David, but you'll now have access to every single film or TV series on Angel at your convenience anytime. So just go to angel.com/Rav and join there.
Hi, my name is Tracy L. from Arizona. I don't stink around in the kitchen when it comes to the news. I watch Real America's Voice, which always serves accurate and reliable updates that are on point with their amazing hosts. So don't find yourself in a pickle by tuning into the fake news. Stick.
He poisoned our water supply, burned our crops, and delivered a plague unto our houses. He did? No, but are we just gonna wait around until he does?
Isn't like so that's SpongeBob, obviously, but that's classic. He did all of these things, and everyone's like, "What?" Like, well, he didn't do them yet, but we can't sit around until he does. That's like the last decade of Trump just being the son of global politics that everything revolves around. Is, oh my gosh, can you believe if this happened? Well, did it happen? No. But I can't live in a world where it might. All right, it says this everything. Tariffs are going to cause massive inflation. Inflation went down. Trump's going to be terrible at the border. Oh, the border's closed. Law and order. Oh, the murder rate's dead. It's the lowest point in 126 years. Classic. Geez, we're low on time here, so we'll get to the mailbag very quickly. Scott has an interesting point. Also, kind of like puts this in perspective and is a little bit. It's good to know that I'm not the only one that thinks this, thinks that the, let me characterize what he said here, bad optics here with the whole Preddy situation, could have easily been taken down with tasers. Yes, and again, the only caveat is whether or not the gun that he had on him went off. That changes the thing